So people been asking me how my stove's doing, a rocket heater, and he's doing well. It's possibly been 3 years since I last opened this stove up, when I re-welded the plate underneath. Back then there was no problems at all with the stove. Finally getting around to putting a proper door on this, and what I'm going to do, guys, is I am going to put a viewing window right down into the riser, and towards the end of this video I'm going to light the stove and I'm going to show you properly down the riser, and you can see what's going on in this stove. So I'm going to strip it down, take it to bits. Let's have a look at it, see how the riser's held up. It's all live here, guys. Look in. Oh, one more. Oh, that was going to be the slitting disc. That's us. Well, you see the old saw blade has suffered some trauma again. He's all a bit misshapen and bent out of place. So that's what happened to the saw blade, but it protected the top, which is what it was supposed to do. And then here we have with a fair bit of ash in there. It's just built up. This is a very, very fine talcy ash. And there's such a good draw on this stove that it does tend to pull a lot of ash up. You can see it's built up there on top, so I'm going to get the hoover out and suck all this muck out of here. But the riser is actually perfect. Let's clean it up so you can just see it a bit better. Well, I've cleaned out. I'll show you in the stove now. Everything looking great. The riser looking absolutely fantastic. No cracks in there, no problems at all with it. Stove's all good. Secondary air pipe at the bottom probably, well, definitely not been working as good as it should due to the amount of ash building up on top of it. So my next major change is not to leave it for 2 or 3 years before I clean the the body out. I've just welded them studs on there because by putting the bolts through, the bolts actually have corroded away. So I'm just going to place the top back on there. I took the saw blade off, gave it a good beating, and I've welded it back on just for now. I can't really be bothered doing anything else to it. If it bends again next year, I will sort another solution out. I've bolted that plate on the top that will take the glass, so you can have a look down inside the riser, guys. And there we are. I'm going to get it back together now. I've lit the stove, guys. I lit it, actually I lit it this morning. I've been waiting for the glass to come, which is why I'm just finishing the video now. The new glass, which I ordered 2 weeks ago, has only just arrived this morning, so I fitted the piece on the door and I've just really rested the piece on the top because the stove has really been, it's just been too hot to fit that piece on there. I'll show you inside in a minute. The two heat exchangers that you can see in this picture, they are simply 2 hollow tubes which are open at the bottom and open at the top. They're welded onto the side of the exchanger, and air can enter the bottom and exit the top, and it really is worth putting them in. The amount of heat they put out, guys, is incredible. and the rob the exchanger of heat, which is what we want. Less heat, more heat coming off the exchanger, less heat going up the flue. I'll do a few temperature readings off this. It's ridiculously hot in my workshop at the moment. It's too hot really. I'm stripped off here to my t-shirt, but that's how hot it is in here, guys. There's 39 degrees coming up from behind the bench. It's 31 degrees centigrade in the workshop. But temperatures, it generally runs about 400 degrees when I'm burning it like this, but I really, as you can see, I don't need to burn it at these sort of temperatures. We're at 350 degrees in the centre there, which is, it's kind of not where this stove is the hottest anymore, because putting that saw blade underneath, it stops a lot of the heat actually hitting the top. And what it's done, it's pushed the heat down onto the sides of the stove, so it's kind of a really even temperature. 300 centigrade, 572 Fahrenheit. 445 out of the free air exchangers, which is 834 Fahrenheit. So what I mean, it really moves the air and pulls the air through there. It's a great source of heat. What I'm burning at the moment is some sticks. Normally by now this fire will just be burning really slowly, kind of a real sulking low burn. That's what's in it, and the air is fully open on it. I'll have a look down into the riser there. Not burning much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up the firebox with sticks, with wood, and I'm going to make it gasify for you. By the way, once the stove has reached this temperature, this bucket full of fuel will virtually last me all day on this stove. As soon as this fuel starts to burn, I will shut the stove down anyway. Just too hot. Okay, that wood is caught light now. It's all burning. The flames are exiting the riser, giving it full air. Let's go over and take a look at what's going on. There's the fuel I've just put in, which is now burning. The flames are now exiting the top of the riser tube. Glass is just a bit clouded over. I'm going to shut the air down now. You see in there? I don't know. Open up the secondary air. And what you now see is gas burning. The secondary air supply is now burning the gas that's coming off the firebox. It's about as long as I can hold this camera here, chaps. It's just too hot. And that's what happens in the firebox. The wood is gassing off. The primary air doesn't completely close off. There is a slight trickle of air going through the firebox. When I open the primary air again, it'll just burst back into life. So I'll burn it now with both the secondary air and the primary air. But normally how I burn this stove, I just kick my primary air in until I've just got a nice slow burn like that. Maybe a little bit much there. Yeah, that's about it there. That'll be my usual burn on this stove. And it puts a nice bit of heat into the riser. Whew, wow, that's so hot. When the stove is gasifying, it produces more heat because the fire then burns with a blue flame inside the riser tube, which is much hotter than a normal yellow wood flame. and it's around about 370 degrees on the top of there now. The sides of the stove are 330 degrees, 320 degrees. The free air risers are 424 degrees centigrade now, which is 795 Fahrenheit. And that's the secret, guys, with rocket stoves, you know. You've got to get the heat off that exchanger, because at the moment the temperature's on the flue. The temperature on my flue is 76 degrees or 168 Fahrenheit. There's a lot of rocket stove videos on YouTube now. Some very good ones, and it's really good that people are just taking the time to make these and doing a lot of experimenting with them. Still hot. But don't be misled by videos you see on YouTube. There's a guy called, I think it's Takeshi, you know, something like that. He's a great stove builder. The guy's made some beautiful stoves. And what he has been doing, he's been experimenting with the vortexes and things like that we put out. But he's to introduce secondary air, he drilled holes in the riser tube, and he fed it with its own supply. But I mean, I tried that years and years ago, drilling holes into the riser tube to introduce the secondary air, and it only works if your rocket stove is not burning efficiently. The guy also uses wood pellets, which once the firebox or your stove gets really hot, he must be dumping bucket loads of wood pellets in, and he's kind of over fueling the rocket stove, if you know what I mean. There is not enough air getting through the fuel to burn efficiently, so he's getting a lot of unburnt gases going up the riser tube, which is not an efficient way of burning a rocket stove. It's not clean. So you really want to be making a clean, efficient burning rocket stove, and the secret is to get the heat off your exchanger as efficiently as you can with that before it goes up the flue. And if you achieve them things, you're gonna really reap the benefits of these things. You are, because you won't be spending all your summer cutting wood. You're probably going to use 1/10 of the fuel you normally use. And these things are just incredibly efficient and incredibly hot. I decided to keep the glass on top because it is actually really handy to look down the riser and see the state of the burn inside the riser tube. It's like it's burning a bit rich now, so I can just kick that primary air back a little bit. Wow. I can just kick that primary air back and I can see the blue flame now coming out of the secondary air pipe. That stove now, from that fuel I put in, this stove in this state will now, it is this really, where are we now? It's maybe 5:30 in the evening. This stove will need no fuel now till tomorrow. And where we are at stupid hot. Couldn't work in this. I've done this so I can show you guys, where we're at. That's where we're at temperature wise, which is just too hot to work, I like it in here when it's around 20 degrees. I say, if you've got any questions on rocket stoves, if you want to put them in the comments section, and I may just do another video, I'll answer your comments in the video. It's just so much easier than me typing in answers which then get asked again. So if I do a video rocket stove questions and answers, I think it'll just be helpful for everybody. I am literally sweating cobs in here now. It's so hot. They're just fantastic stoves. Fantastic stoves. Changes I would make to this. Where are we? 384 degrees, that's what I mean. It just, as you burn it really efficiently like this, i.e. the firebox gassing with just a trickle of air going through, the secondary air belting out, and big blue flame that's now wrapping around the bottom of the riser. This is the most efficient way of burning wood, because the heat it produces is incredible. So that's it, all from a fire burning inside an insulated tube. That's the magic of a rocket stove. It's that tube, guys. It's you get so much heat in that tube that anything that enters there, the gases coming off the wood, just ignites. It burns everything in there, you know, and that's what gives you the heat. That's what gives you the really low emissions, you know. These glasses get fogged up because that is purely the moisture that's been driven out the fuel. There's a lot of moisture circling around the box, and when you look up at the flue, no doubt now, because it's probably 2 degrees outside now, 2 centigrade, it's a really cold night. I'll go and measure it for you. There's our temperatures outside. It's 31 Fahrenheit or 0.6 centigrade. Here's where we are outside, and I am sweating cobs in here. In fact, I'm just going to leave the door open a little bit, just shed a little bit of heat out of here. I also may be building a smaller rocket stove. It's just too hot standing here. I may be building a really little compact rocket stove, which will probably heat this place actually. I may do that for you. If there's enough interest, then I'll build it. Quite a little dinky thing that would be actually perfect, say in a boat, in a caravan, in a little tiny workshop in a shed, and you would possibly only need to burn it for 2 hours a day and you'd have enough heat out of it. But it's something I'm thinking of doing. It's either I've got an old tank of a compressor, you see, so I either use it for that or I build myself a little foundry for melting brass. So I'll leave it up to you guys to decide what I do with it. See the temperature of that riser now, it is actually glowing a cherry red colour. Ridiculously hot. Just took the glass off so you can get a good view in there. And that's mainly due to the gasification, although just the ordinary burn will have had some effect. It is like the sun. Well, that's the update on the vid. Questions below. Catch you soon.